Hello and welcome back to Compassionate Conversations. My name is Carlos Freck. I'm the Communications and Advocacy Manager at Miami Racine County and your host today. Our guest today is Zack Zdroik from Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin, and he's going to talk about the status of mental health in the veterans community and what resources are available for helping support this population. Welcome to Compassionate Conversations, a podcast produced by the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Miami Racine County, discussing subjects related to mental health and mental illness. Welcome, Zack, and thank you for being in Compassionate Conversations.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Zack, I always want to give the opportunity to the persons who we're talking to introduce themselves. So can you talk a little bit about you and what you do for Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin?
Yeah, so my name is Zack Zdroik. I'm the Executive Director at Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin. I'm also a Marine Corps veteran. We assist veterans with housing, mental health needs, as well as food insecurities.
Let's talk a little bit about the housing portion, because this is a new project, correct? It's about a year, 2 years ago?
It's been around about 7 years now.
7 years.
But it's starting to pick up across the U.S. So we have 15 tiny homes.
Okay.
That's a newer concept within the last, 5-7 years. And within the 15 homes, it's a community program. And what that means is that the veterans work together in order to get themselves back on their feet. So every home is very unique. It is community supported and built by the community. So there are no bathrooms in homes. I say that because that is very important to what the program is. It allows the veterans to go inside the community center where all the restrooms are available and interact with the staff and the other veterans available there. So,
now we are talking today specifically about mental health and mental health needs. So would you say that in the veterans community, let me put it this way, do you believe there are enough resources to support veterans with their mental health?
I believe that there are a lot of resources. Now, are there enough resources? I mean, that's debatable because we still have veterans killing themselves to suicide. So because of that, I think that we could do a better job at connecting these veterans with those resources.
Well, so now that you touched on that point, there is a website called Stop Soldier Suicide, and it says that veterans are at a 57% higher risk of committing suicide. Can we talk about what could be some of the, not reasons, but some of the factors that are involved in this?
So every veteran's very different, right? I mean, their story, what they did in service, and what they're doing after service. Right. My own personal opinion on why veteran suicide rate is higher and continues to rise is, let's go back a little bit here. So I'll use my own story, for example. I was in the Marine Corps, served in Iraq. Right before we went into the city into combat, they said, hang on to an extra bullet, put it in your flak, just in case something happens, okay? 18, 19-year-old kid, what does that mean to me?
Right.
That means, okay, I might need to kill myself.
Right.
I remember when I was in high school, there was a reporter by the name of Nick Berg. And this is before YouTube and all that, not to sound old, but I remember seeing Nick Berg, and he was beheaded on live TV during the Iraq War. And as a 16, 17-year-old kid, I remember that. So when I was told, hang on to that extra bullet, it was a reminder like, okay, I don't want to end up like Nick Berg on live TV being beheaded in front of millions of people. So had that there, and at that time, there's a little black area in my brain that got a little bigger. And as time went on, went through the cities, obviously made it out. Fast forward, got done with my Marine Corps career, and came home, hit a first speed bump in life. It was a girl, finance problems, whatever it is. It's always the same, honestly. It's always a girl or finance problems. And right away, I skipped over being angry and sad and all that and depressed. I went to that black area in my brain where that bullet started, and I was like, wow, if I kill myself, all that pain goes away.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of veterans, that is their comfort zone. It's absolutely terrifying. But in some of that black area in our brain is smaller for some of us, it's bigger for some of us. It depends what we went through. But that seed was planted in me as a young kid in the Marines. And because of that, I took a lot to kind of get through all that. It was a struggle in life. But as I, stormed through it, I was able to understand myself a little bit better. But not every veteran is so lucky.
Right.
Some veterans, they hit that first speed bump and they're like, screw it, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And it's tough to get through that.
Yeah. So you think that there are enough resources, but they're not being utilized,
So when anyone needs help,
Right.
right? Say you need help. Like, did I want to go to somebody and say, hey, I'm going to kill myself. Can you help me?
Right.
That takes somebody to be very vulnerable.
Right.
I didn't do that.
Right.
I gutted it down and I stormed through it for years. And it wasn't good. It took me years to really understand, like, okay, no, there's people out there to help me. I can get through this. But even going for food, for example, like asking for any help whatsoever, there's plenty of resources out there. But asking for help hits our pride. Veterans are very prideful people.
Right.
And it's tough for us to ask for help in any capacity whatsoever. So I think we need to, as family members and community members, understand that veterans are struggling on a lot of different areas. And it's okay. It's okay to struggle. And we got to let it be okay for these vets to ask for help and not make it uncomfortable for them.
So you believe there is a certain stigma for people to actually ask for help.
Absolutely.
And so what can we do to help minimize that stigma? Because obviously if the resource is there but nobody's using it, it's wasted. And the results end up being 57% more likely of suicide. So
yeah, so I mean it's tough to answer that because everyone's pride is going to have to take a step back.
Right.
And as like family members, for example, they have to understand that not every veteran is crazy. We've been hearing that for years. Right. They say every veteran's crazy, blah, blah, blah. They went into war and all this, whatever. But at the end of the day, a lot of people struggle when they come out. There's a reason that suicide rate is so high. It's not because, oh, they just happen to do that. It's by coincidence. No, there's stuff that they deal with, whether they go to combat or not.
Right.
The family members, community, society, everyone as a whole needs to understand that, these people, they raise their right hand to ultimately go to war. Not all of them go to war. And when they come home and then they didn't go to war, say they were stuck in California for 4 years, that happens.
Right.
But they were ready to go to war. They're ready to give their life, and they come home and then, bam, that didn't happen? Okay. They still have to adapt in a society and back home,
right,
and understand.
So
that,
they're mentally in a different place.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, combat or not, every veteran struggles to kind of get back into the swing of things once they come back home. So,
and I mean, this I believe everybody could relate to this because we all go through. I mean, it's different, but we all go through processes in our life where we don't feel that we want to ask for help, even though we need it, or we all struggle at some point with some type of mental issue. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily mentally ill, but we all go through depression. We all go through, these different changes in life. Now, Veterans Outreach of Wisconsin, and we are partnered with you guys on 9 Line. And so can you talk a little bit about what is 9 Line, why the name, to start with, because I'm sure that our listeners will want to know the meaning of the name, and what does it do, and how can people reach out to help from 9 Line? So
the 9 Line is basically medical for help in the military. So the reason we stuck with that name is because most veterans understand that, if you need help while you're in combat, you call a 9 Line in, and then help will come. And that's ultimately what this program is. It's to connect with veterans that are suffering with mental health problems and let them know that it's okay and there's resources out there available. So we partnered with, obviously, NAMI and Captain Mason, who has a peer-to-peer support program, and in hopes to connect with as many veterans across the state of Wisconsin as possible. That's the main goal. Right. And ultimately, we want the vets to understand that if you call us, it's okay. All we're dumb vets wanting to help other vets. That's really all it is. Right. And when they call us, they understand, like, we get where they're coming from, because most of the people, if not all of us in this 9 Line program, understand the struggle and understand that asking for help is very difficult. And it's okay. We're here to listen. We're here to help them in any way that they want possible. Ultimately, we're here for them to talk to. That's really what it's about. So, and we kind of go forward with that. So if a veteran calls 9 Line, maybe they don't really know what they need.
So how does that conversation go? What would you what can Line offer?
So yeah, so as soon as a vet calls, we've had very different calls. I'll be honest. I mean, I'll give you a few examples. I've had a vet call. He's like, "Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm going through custody for my kids. I don't know if I'm suicidal or not. I don't know what's going on." And ultimately, what we hope is to do that face to face with the vet. If they're able to come in and talk to us face to face, that's great, because then we're able to connect on that personal level and see where we can go from there. Put together a service plan and in hopes to ultimately help that veteran moving forward. Other calls, I mean, hey, I'm going to kill myself. That's how the call goes. That's how it starts off. We find out where they're at, what they're doing, what got them there. And depending on how they're talking to us through the phone, kind of depends on how we're going to interact with them. We don't want to be too aggressive, but we don't want to be too passive at the same time. It's a very fine line. I mean, we take a lot of different courses throughout the year, so we understand that, okay, this kind of person, we got to talk like this, or this kind of person, we got to talk like that. And we kind of just go with it.
Just try to work.
Ultimately save their life. Yeah, connecting with all the resources and putting that service plan together for them. That's kind of going with every single vet that we talk to. So sometimes service plans, let's go to the VA. Other times it's like, all right, let's do these, veteran support groups like NAMI supports at VOW, and let's start with that and move forward.
Now, 9-Line is a statewide line.
Yeah, so we are covering Southeast Wisconsin mainly, but we are helping vets across the whole state.
And has it been successful?
Oh yeah, the numbers continue to go up month after month. We're putting a lot towards marketing, and right as last month we connected with over 50 veterans through the 9-Line, and again that was up from 20 the month before. And the name is getting out there among the veteran community, and they're understanding like, yeah, this program's here to help them, and we're doing what we can.
And what's the follow-up? Because 9-Line is not just mental health or a conversation on mental health. It also offers jobs or try to help people get back on their feet. So what other services, or what is the follow-up once you establish the connection?
Yeah, so with all the programs involved in an 9-Line with NAMI, Captain Mason, and us, there's a lot more that comes with it. I mean, when a veteran calls and said, I'm going through custody, I need help. This guy specifically was unemployed, was not connected with the VA. There's a lot of things he didn't understand were out there, going back to the resources we talked about. And what we did was, okay, let's prioritize these resources that are out there. He needed work. Okay, let's connect you with the state program, the DVOP program through the WDVA, and get you connected and get you employed, get some money coming in your pocket. And then he wanted some other peer-to-peer support programs. He wanted to go to veteran support groups. And all of us working together is really how we're able to help them. So everyone's service plan is very different, but helps them long run.
I don't know if you have the answer to this, but November is also Movember to try to help mental health, and there is a higher rate of suicide among men than among women, and so there are different programs that are trying to work with this. Are there specific groups, and would you say is there more? Are there more males using 9-Line or trying to get to services? And are there specific groups that are helping males, veterans who are going through?
So most of our veterans that we've connected with through the 9-Line have been males. We've only had about 6 females.
Wow.
We're going on 2 years now that's been around. But the veteran community struggles with getting female veterans, the resources they need, because a lot of times the males come in, and the female veterans are just not walking through the door. And it's tough to get them to come in and ask for help. The males are coming in.
Wow.
It's the females. So it's very different in the veteran community rather than like the regular community.
That's surprising. And could it be because they already have other support?
I think there's a stigma there. So most, men and women look at it like, oh, veterans are males.
Oh.
Not a lot of them consider females veterans. I mean, I've heard a lot of female vets come in and they'll look at her husband like, oh, he's the veteran, when it's the female.
Oh, wow.
And that's the community assuming that. So I think there's a stigma with it, and that's a tough one. Me being a male veteran, obviously, it's tough for me to be the one to answer it, but I do understand that is a struggle among the female veteran community.
Well, certainly something that needs to change. Obviously.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, Zack, this besides the 9-Line and the housing, What would you say is the status of the veteran community in general, as far as is the veteran community receiving the resources that are needed? What's the status of the veteran community?
That's a tough one to answer. So, I mean, you'll talk to some veteran groups, you'll be like, oh, everything's going great. There's plenty of resources out there.
Right.
But depending what era they served, I mean, we really think about it. We have vets that served World War II that are almost 100 years old. We have vets that are in their 20s that came back from Afghanistan recently. We have vets in their 30s that served in Iraq, and Vietnam vets, Korean vets, so on and so forth. I feel like it's very different for all of us. I was talking to a group of younger vets recently. It was a group of 25 to 30-year-old kids. And with everything going on in today's world, we're at a weird peacetime. America is. Because in my era, we were at war the whole time. So it's like, all right, kick down doors, take care of the bad guys.
You know exactly what to expect.
Yeah, now it's like, all right, hand out flowers and kiss the babies, you know? And with all of this war going on in the world, it puts a lot of anxiety in the younger veterans. And we're monitoring it a lot closer than maybe the World War II vet.
Right.
It's looking at the news, like, because this impacts us, this impacts our kids.
Right.
So I feel it's very, again, it's my personal opinion, a little unbalanced because it's an awkward time. When peacetime's very awkward for us right now because there's still war, but we're not in it.
Right. It's not really Pacific time.
Yeah, so it's very different for all of us.
Right. So you think that right now is when veterans are more alert, especially the younger veterans?
Yeah, I think we're all on the edge of our seat here, kind of waiting for something to happen. But at the same time, that kind of puts off something in our head like, man, I remember when I was overseas, this happened. Like, I'm thinking about, like, stuff that I went through.
Right.
I don't want these young kids to have to deal with that.
Right.
And, you know, Vietnam vets probably the same thing. They're thinking, like, man, if something goes on again, this is not a good war, or this or that. We think of all the negative stuff before the good stuff when it comes to that. So we don't want these vets to have to struggle like a lot of us have struggled. So,
do you feel that the community receives veterans in a fair way once one of these conflicts happen?
I feel we've come a very long way in even 10 years. I mean, go back to even the Vietnam era, obviously it's a whole different era.
Right.
I mean, these guys were spit on when they came home.
Right.
Myself, you know, there's parades thrown for us when we came home. So, you know, the resources out there are a lot better than they ever have been. There's more than they ever have been. Example, like the UW colleges, there's a lot of veteran groups within these schools. 15 years ago, a lot of these groups weren't there. Like UW Milwaukee has Maverick, Military Area Veterans Group Resource Center. WCTC, these technical schools all have different veteran groups. So when veterans come home, there's areas that they can go talk to other vets, and they're more welcoming. And I think those alone have really been more welcoming for the veteran community because we didn't have that 15, 20 years ago. You're going to school and you feel like, you know, Adam Sandler and Billy Madison because you're older than all these kids. So it's a different era, but I mean, we've come a very long way, and I think we're going to continue to make some progress towards it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, certainly. Now, some veterans are going to be listening to this conversation, and what would you say to them, especially those who might be struggling? And, as you just say, especially the females who might be struggling with asking for help.
So obviously, we hear this all the time, but you're not alone. All you got to do is give us a call. We'll help you. We help every veteran very differently depending on what's going on in their life. All you got to do is give us a call, 262-456-7059, and we'll start from there. Simple talk. We're not going to, hassle you on what's going on. All we're doing is talking to you. We're some dumb vets looking to help other vets. So.
I love that part. Now, this is a 24/7 line.
So you if you leave your voicemail, leave your number, you will get a call within 12 hours. It's not 24/7 monitored. We don't have the staff currently, to be very honest with you. But during business hours, we are always available, and you'll get a call within 12 hours after you leave voicemail.
Excellent. Can you repeat the number, please?
Yes, 262-456-7059.
Perfect. Now, is there anything else you want our audience to know about VOW or 9-line? Or anything you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, so I mean, to go into a VOW a little bit more, I mean, we have talked about the 9-line a lot, obviously, with reason, with the mental health focus. We have the housing, but we also have our veteran marketplace. So our veteran market is basically a grocery store. It's free food for vets. It serves over, God, what is it now? Over 950 veterans and their families a month. So
Wow.
go back a year, that number was 400.
Wow.
Go back 3 years, that was about 150. So that number has increased. And the reason VOW has been able to grow and become successful in the veteran community, it's because it started with the basic needs. And the basic needs are food,
Right.
housing. We've learned, okay, mental health. So we've added mental health to our program because of us focusing on the basic needs. But ultimately, whatever you need out there, come let us know. Maybe it's not mental health, maybe it's not food, maybe it's not housing, maybe it's something we haven't thought of. But please come in, talk to us, and maybe we'll put something together to help more veterans that way.
Now, Veterans Day is coming up.
Yes.
And so how do we honor our veterans best, especially now that, that we have these resources, that we know that there is a need? How can we as a community help our veteran community and again, keep them growing and keep them moving up and forward?
So I mean, we have free haircuts and free food, so we're good. No, I'm kidding. But I think recognizing vets year after year, you see a lot of these veteran programs go on all in different communities.
Right.
These communities come together for it. And you have more people nowadays come to events than we did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I think passing on to our youth, our kids, is the important thing.
Right.
Because, like I said, we're at a weird peacetime. I mean, I bring my kids almost every single veteran thing I do. They get annoyed, but they probably know more than most other kids that are in 4th grade or 8th
Right.
grade. But I think as long as we continue to recognize veterans and understand the sacrifice that they made,
Right.
and it's not just, oh, they went to war, they fought, they're back home, they're good. It's understanding that, they left home for multiple years, whether it was in combat or they stayed stateside, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Ultimately, they made that sacrifice away from their family. And they did it for what we have now. And
Right.
we can't ever forget that. And I think it's important year after year, but all year round, to continue to recognize that we wouldn't have what we have here in America without our veteran community.
That is very, very important to keep in mind. And I think that because maybe part of the reason that there is this stigma is because we see the veterans as such a strong force. But we fail to recognize that they're human beings and that, as everybody else, they also have their own needs. So I think that if we can look at veterans in a way of, just like we have neighbors who are veterans who, lived life like everybody else, but to have made the decision to make, as you say, the sacrifice of putting, country over their own life. And I think if we can understand that, if we can understand the consequences of that, positive and negative, then maybe we'll understand, and especially those of us who are not veterans, maybe we will understand better that, how to help them, and how to support them. Because once you're a veteran, you're always a veteran. That lives with you for the rest of your life. So I do want to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. But thank you especially for the service that you're doing now supporting other veterans. Because, as I say, that 57% number is more than a number. Those are lives. And those are lives that deserve to be preserved and that deserve to have the opportunity to live the rest of their life just like the rest of us. So again, thank you, and thank you for being today in Compassionate Conversations. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience before we finish here?
No, I could probably talk about veteran stuff all day, but
That's
thank
okay.
you for allowing us to get the word out here. And again, the 9 line, that number is 262-456-7059. Any need you have whatsoever. Doesn't necessarily need to be mental health. It could be housing. It could be food. It could be anything.
Right.
Ultimately, we're here to help you, and we'll do what we can for you. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Zack, and thank you to our audience for listening. Remember that number, and remember, share this information with any veterans you might know, because you never know who needs it. You can leave a comment, and you can follow us on Spotify or other major podcast platforms. This was Carlos Freck with Zack Zdroik. Until our next compassionate conversation. Compassionate Conversations is brought to you in a partnership with United Way of Racine County. Thank you for your support. NAMI Racine County is a local affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Our vision is to create a compassionate community where all people affected by mental illness live healthy, fulfilling lives. NAMI Racine County provides advocacy, education, support, and public awareness so that all individuals and families affected by mental illness can build better lives. Visit us at www.namiracinecounty.org for more information on mental health and related activities.